Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Goblin Slayer TRPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this role-playing game based on the popular fantasy series, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about items. This book contains a huge selection of weapons, armor, equipment, vehicles. There are some subsections in this part that I think could have been a bit more extensive, but overall it is quite the impressive selection. Let's talk about equipment effects first. Weapons, armor, and shields are collectively referred to as equipment. Armor and shields are collectively referred to as defensive equipment, of course. Equipment can have any of the various equipment effects listed in this section of the book. Some will work to the character's advantage, while others will fetter them. When purchasing a piece of gear, be sure to look at its equipment effect, and not only at its basic information like hit modifier, power, dodge modifier, and armor score. So you have things such as massive. A massive weapon is very long and large, making it difficult to handle in confined spaces such as dungeons, caves, and indoor chambers. Because of this, rolling a 4 or below on a hit check with these weapons is considered a critical failure. There are also weapons made for throwing. You can only use this equipment for ranged attacks. If you use it for a melee attack, it will either break immediately or become otherwise unusable. You also have this strong blow effect. Using weapons with this quality, such as slashing weapons, bludgeoning weapons, give that weapon the strong blow quality, that is, your attacks are strong blows. There's also the slice effect. Weapons with highly polished, sharp blades that can cut through armor. When using such a weapon to make a slash attribute attack, you can use the slice attack. There's also the rapid effect. Weapons specialized in quick firing. If you use rapid fire, you can attack twice or more in one round. And these are just some of the effects. Let me give you a few examples of the items. Under the one-handed swords category we have blunt sword. It has nicks in it. It is covered with rust, and or was poorly maintained, a rusty blunt sword. But you also have the Jamadhar, a sword built into a gauntlet meant for punching, often mistaken for a katar. Then we have a weapon quite familiar to those that live here in my country, Mexico, the macuahuitl, a wooden sword embedded with obsidian blades, mainly used in places without much ore available. Maintenance is easy, as you just swap the blades out. Some people may not know that this was actually used by the Aztecs to capture victims to sacrifice them to their idols. It is mainly a weapon to cripple the opponent, to slash the tendons that keep the limbs functioning properly. Under the two-handed swords category we have the bastard sword, a one-handed sword with a hilt made longer to raise its stabbing and slashing potency. This gives it a unique sense of balance, making it best for sword veterans. You also have the flamberge, a sword with a double-edged blade with a rippling, flame-like shape. Wounds from it aren't easy to recover from. This sword is deadly on the battlefield. Under axes we have blunt axe, a worn-out axe that is practically just a metal scrap. Actually inflicts more pain than normal weapons. We also have the hand axe, an axe that can be wielded in one hand, meant for working. You can change how sharp both of its edges are to better fit the hardness of whatever tree you are cutting down. Under spears we have the javelin, a spear made for throwing. The image of spear-wielding armies defeating giant enemies is a symbol of the common man. We also have the glaive, a spear whose tip has been made into a flat blade, similar to a sickle, because all you have to do is tie a knife to the end of a stick to make a rudimentary one. Many fledgling adventurers carry them. Under maces we have the war pick, a pickaxe made all the more vicious in order to beat helmets in with just one strike. We also have the maul, a metal club with a spike instead of a blade, Many firmly believe the superstition that one hit can deal a fatal wound to an opponent. And there are many other categories and weapons. This is just a small example. You have staves, you have of course ranged weapons, you have weapons specifically for close combat, for example the tonfa and cestus. We also have armor, such as cloth armor. Armor made of several layers of thick cloth that can be used as gear for foot soldiers. We also have the ranger's coat, clothing of mainly deep dark greens and browns for blending in with forest verdure and with shadows on uninhabited mountains. There is even bikini armor, a breastplate and lower region armor that can barely be called that. Some ensembles include shoulder pads, but this armor is essentially underwear. Many women and female followers of the Valkyrie wear it, but since it's standard fare for gladiator slaves, it wasn't actually made to be worn by females only. Of course, we have more protective gear, such as plate armor. Many metal sheets combined to form armor. Imposing and sturdy, it is very heavy and not suited for being on foot during combat. Still, it's said that a knight of incredible talent can easily do a somersault while wearing it. We also have different types of shields, such as spiked shields, which are obviously perfect for shield bashing. You also have the lantern shield, a shield with a lantern inside for keeping watch at night. Its shutter allows the user to control how much light it gives off, but it's both heavy and fragile as far as shields go. You also have kite shields, hitter shields, tower shields, and magical equipment. Now, when it comes to the magical items section, it is a bit lackluster in my opinion. You have examples and guidelines on how to create magical weapons, magical armor, but when it comes to actual pieces of magical gear, they just give you a few examples. You also have adventuring items, such as lockpicking tools, first aid supplies, holy symbols, crafting tools. You also have information on ammunition, arrows, stone bullets, lighting tools such as candles, lanterns, clothing such as belt pouches, water bags, camping tools such as blankets, tents, and miscellaneous tools such as shovels, ropes, hammer, gas masks, hand mirrors. What you do have in more abundance is a selection of magical tools, such as water-breathing rings, spell-resistant rings, magic scrolls, weapon proficiency armbands. You also have information on the cost for lodging, food, and when it comes to vehicles, you do have a few of them such as war horses, carts, donkeys, but there is no information on boats or ships. You do have a selection of medicines, however, such as healing potions, stamina potions, antidotes, and such. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about the Four-Cornered World, the setting for this role-playing game. I like the huge selection of weapons, armor, and such, but I would have definitely preferred if they added a few more magical items, weapons, perhaps legendary weapons and suits of armor. And when it comes to vehicles, it is somewhat disappointing, to be frank. You do see some vehicles in Goblin Slayer such as boats and rafts, and although, for example, carts are often seen in the series, so it makes sense that they included them in this book, I don't see why they didn't include perhaps 4 or 5 types of boats and ships. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.